Hey everybody, I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to My Kind of Country. Thanks so much for joining us on a Monday night. Fantastic show coming up in Nashville, 3rd and Lindsley on Wednesday, June the 7th, 7 p.m. It's the annual Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt benefit, Country for a Cause. Stars like Mo Bandy, John Conley, Wade Hayes, Terry McBride, Brandon Davis, Elizabeth Cook, Jake Hoot, Leon Everett, Mackenzie Phipps, and Paulette Carlson from Highway 101, my dear friend, hosted by my wonderful friends T.G. Shepard and his beautiful wife Kelly Lang. Kelly is with me tonight. We're going to talk about this and so many other great things going on for Kelly. Kelly Lang, it is a pleasure to welcome you back to My Kind of Country. How are you tonight?
Oh, Scott, thank you for having me. I'm doing great. It's beautiful weather down here. I couldn't be happier.
Well, that is fantastic, and I just cannot thank you and TG enough for being so kind, not only to me and everything that I do on my show, but for hosting this wonderful, wonderful concert every year. And it's for such a great cause, and it's really gotten to be just a huge event, and I'm so glad to see that.
Well, every year it seems to be shaken up a little bit by different artists. We try to keep it different each year. And this year, you've named the list of the artists. I'm super excited that there's a mix of traditional and a little bit of rocker and a little bit of old and new. I just think it's going to be a very interesting. And we also have surprises. You never know who's going to show up at one of these. Last year, John Rich happened to pop in and got up on stage and sang a little bit. And you just never know. There's always a surprise element. And the ticket prices are $45. Starts at 7 o'clock on the 7th of June. Which is right during CMA Fest. So all the entertainers that are in town tend to pop in, and all the fans that are already here just have a wonderful show.
That's wonderful. Folks, Country for a Cause, you can go to ticketweb.com and get tickets for this. And they're selling fast, so you're going to want to get them as soon as you can. And Country for a Cause also has a Facebook page. We will put all that information on the My Kind of Country Facebook page so that you can just click the link and go and get your tickets for this fantastic show. And Kelly, tell me a little bit about exactly what this show is a benefit for.
Well, what we do is raise money. There's auctions during the show. Of course, there's people that volunteer their time. All of these artists come in voluntarily to donate their time to raise money for Monroe Carroll Jr.'s Children's Hospital there at Vanderbilt. And if you've never been to a children's hospital and really experienced what it is they do for these families, it's quite an amazing feat. My brother was born with brain cancer, and my family needed desperately the help of a children's hospital before, and they only charged my family $1 for his brain surgery.
Oh, wow.
Otherwise, it would have been detrimental for our whole family. And so I have a really soft spot in my heart for these families, these children especially. And we try to raise money and awareness and just try to bring some light to the subject.
That's fantastic. And I also want to say a big shout out to Gus Arendale at Springer Mountain Farms Chicken. They do such a wonderful job sponsoring this. Not only this show, but I tell you, Gus is just such a champion for country music. What a wonderful man.
Isn't he? I can't imagine life without Gus. He's not only a wonderful sponsor for everybody's career here in Nashville, but he's just a great guy, a wonderful friend.
Country for a Cause, ticketweb.com. Again, we will put that information on our Facebook page for My Kind of Country, so you can go right to the website and get your tickets for that. And I know there will be general admission available if there's any tickets left. But they're going quick. I know that it's always a sellout there, so that's great. Well, you got your dog there, I heard.
Yeah, calm down. Got somebody working on the outside, so she's having a crazy day today.
I love it. My dog is laying next to me. You never know what's going to happen on the show, so we just let it fly.
I know.
We love our four-legged family, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
KellyLang.net is Kelly's website, and Kelly, your latest album, Old Soul 2, is available at Amazon, Apple, Spotify, and what a great collection of music. It's not country music, but it's sure good music, let me tell you.
I was raised on Conway Twitty. My dad was Conway's road manager, and people think that I only love country music, which I do, but I was also raised with my mom blaring classic rock hits through the house and soul music, and so I just wanted to honor my mom with doing Old Soul and Old Soul 2. All these songs you still hear on the radio and the grocery stores or getting your car washed. And I just wanted to revisit those with a more country flair and have my own spin on those. But now, switching gears, I don't want people to forget that I'm also a songwriter. So I've got an EP coming out of songs that I've written. It's more of an inspirational type of album coming out in June. And in May, on May the 5th, I'm very, very honored. It's a very bittersweet situation, but I am on Olivia Newton-John's last album. It's a duet album that she put together before she passed of everybody she's ever done a duet with, including Mariah Carey and John Travolta, Barry Gibb, Marie Osmond, Paul Anka, and myself. There's tons more. And it's going to be available May the 5th. And she and I recorded How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, which is really, really bittersweet now in hindsight. So be looking for that.
That's great. You guys were real good friends, too, I know.
We were. And, I miss her terribly. I hear her voice in my head every day. She's just full of wisdom and funny little comments. And everywhere I look in my house, I see something that reminds me of her. And she's been here to our house before and dined, and I see her at my kitchen table, and I just miss her. I miss my friend.
She was fantastic, that's for sure. I had such a crush on her back in the 80s.
Everybody did.
She's great, that's for sure. Wonderful music. And, she was one of those artists, too, that really just, went across all the genres, and she was accepted not only in the pop and rock field, but in the country field. And she could do it all, just like you,
Oh, well, thank you. I've learned a lot from her. I've learned how to, great music is great music. And I think it's in the delivery, and it's how you, put your music out there that people can enjoy all different types of music. If you don't get so caught up in putting things in a box, you can just enjoy the artist part of it, and that's what I did with her.
That's right. That's a good way to put it. And you've got some great videos. I loved Midnight Train to Georgia. That was such a great video. I enjoyed that so much. And
I had so much fun putting that video together, and I'm putting a new video together right now for my upcoming EP. But be also looking for a video of Olivia and I. There's never before seen footage of she and I in the studio and just our personal relationship in photos that's coming out. It'll be coming out on womansworld.com on May the 5th.
Well, that's great. I will make sure we put that information, too, on our page so everybody can see that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's going to be some great memories there. And speaking of great memories, your autobiography, I'm Not Going Anywhere, is now available in book form, audiobook format through Amazon, Audible, Apple Books, and, of course, you can get it at kellylang.net. And I'm curious, when you were doing your audiobook, Kelly, were there some things that you kind of expanded on, or did you just pretty much do it verbatim?
I did it verbatim. I'm just I didn't want to add anything to or take away because, it could have been updated. It could have been abridged because I am now 18 years out versus 17 years out from my breast cancer diagnosis, and I think that's encouraging to people out there that are just newly going through something like that. And there's some things that I would have taken out, honestly. I just felt like the reader needed to have it word for word, and perhaps I will do an abridged version later and update both of those.
Sure.
But it's been very successful for me, and reverting back to our conversation about Olivia, she wrote the foreword for my book, and that was a real thrill for me because a lot of the things that I learned how to cope with things is from her, and I've expounded, some of the words of wisdom from her throughout the pages, and hopefully people can sense our friendship throughout it. There's a whole chapter dedicated to her. Also, there's a chapter that T.G. wrote, my husband T.G. Shepherd. He wrote from the perspective of a caregiver towards the patient and how it feels to be kind of the sidelined person, helpless feeling, and he also did a narration as well, and I'm just really, it's a very powerful chapter. I think all partners need to listen to his version of that might be going through something like that.
Absolutely. Folks, go to kellylang.net or Amazon, Audible, Apple Books, and you can get the audiobook version of I'm Not Going Anywhere. And of course, you can get the book as well at Kelly's website. If you're a person like I am, I like to read at night before I go to bed, so I still like to have a book in my hand, you know?
You know what's cool about this book, though, Scott, is with modern technology, when we all went through the COVID, disaster, we did learn what QR codes were. We had to go to the restaurant, and instead of getting a menu, you'd have to look at the menu on your phone.
Yeah.
Well, I've added that modern technology into my book. After each chapter, there's a QR code that you can use your telephone camera to scan, and it will take you back to a video relating to the chapter you just read.
Oh, that's cool.
And so, yeah, it's kind of forward-thinking, and it's also an interactive kind of book. So if you want to just watch the videos, you can. But I'm a visual person, and I like to hold a book, but I also like to see videos that back up the story. So it's kind of an extra bonus for people.
Sure. And it is neat when you get to listen to the person telling the stories in an audio format. It's a little more personal, you know?
You know, it's funny. It's very intimidating to read your book, and at the end of it, after I finished reading it, I had tears of joy that I completed it, and it's quite an emotional roller coaster story. I've had some people tell me that it feels like I'm just sitting across the kitchen table talking and sharing my story. So it's kind of, it's very personal, and there's some ups and downs, and better yet, ups again, because I don't stay down very long.
Well, that's for sure, and it's been evidenced by all this great music you've been releasing in the last few years, and like I said, you're busy. My gosh, you've been on the Huckabee Show and all over television, and you're your spokesperson. I mean, just you're doing it all. It's amazing.
I'm just enjoying life, and I'm not in any kind of competition with anybody. I'm just in my own lane. I probably drive people crazy. They're probably thinking, how does she have that kind of energy? But I do a lot of things, at one time, and then I spread them out. So it looks like I'm way busier than I am, honestly, but it does take a lot of energy and a lot of forethought to get a career going.
Well, I'm looking forward to your new EP, and I hope you'll send us a copy so we can get them on the air for you. And
absolutely. I'd be honored to do that.
We're going to play a couple songs off of Old Soul #2 for you. And again, you can go to Amazon, Apple, Spotify, or kellylang.net and pick up this album, and also Old Soul #1, which we did a feature on when that came out. And it's a great memory trip to go back. I was always been a country guy, but I did listen to a lot of other music and still do. And it was really great to hear, some Rod Stewart and, my gosh, Careless Whisper, Take My Breath Away, and all these great songs. You just kind of identify with them. And maybe, like you mentioned earlier, you go into a store and you hear them playing on the music system, and you might not even realize that you've kind of bonded with the songs, even though you really have,
Not only that, doesn't it bring us back to a safer time in life?
Oh, gosh, yeah. That's
we all went through such a rough time, and everybody was looking towards the old days and the fun days and the safe days, and this music just brought me back. And when we went to the studio to record them, even the musicians that were there seemed to perk up a bit. They were very excited to play songs that they were familiar with and hadn't thought about playing the guitar riffs on their own stuff. So it was really a lot of fun to do.
You did a couple things with those songs. You made them your own. You stayed true to the original spirit of the songs, but you made them your own, and that also kind of brings them into a whole new generation. And there's people that might be discovering these songs for the first time, and they're hearing you do these songs.
Well, the other thing that I enjoy doing a lot, Scott, is doing male songs, and when you record them from a female's perspective, it really changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah.
And the meaning of the song is, quite a bit different. Either it makes the female vocal a powerhouse, like more of a dude kind of attitude, but a lot of it just changes the meaning. It softens the song somehow.
And that brings up an interesting point. Songs are individual journeys for people a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Everyone has their own interpretations, and there might be something in a song that a person will relate to that maybe someone else missed, and vice versa. So it's
right.
It's really interesting when you get into that whole thing. It's a very personal thing, I think.
I too. And I mean, like I said, if people would just not put music in a box, and you don't have to limit it. You can enjoy all different types of music, and that was my quest. It was never to try to beat the original. My goodness, you can't do that. You know, it was more an honor. And like when you mentioned Midnight Train to Georgia, there is a whole generation that never has heard of Gladys Knight,
Mm-hmm.
that has never, heard Midnight Train to Georgia, and that in itself makes me sad. So, because that's what I was raised on. So that was my real purpose from behind it, is to continue this legacy, so that maybe this new generation would look back at the original and go, oh, I never heard that song before, but I'll go back. That's happened several times, as a matter of fact, through the recordings of these. I recorded a song called Quando with TG, actually, on Old Soul 1. Several band members had never even heard that song. And I was like, you're kidding. Oh, my goodness. But, clearly a new generation needs to hear it. It's a cool song. So
Yeah.
I'm just here to go backwards and frontwards with music and hopefully be the bridge.
Well, that's great. There's so many resources to be able to go back and discover the music. It's right at our fingertips anymore, and it's not like it used to be. But, when I was growing up, Merle Haggard did that for me. He recorded tribute albums to Jimmy Rogers and Hank Williams and Lefty Frizzell and Bob Wills.
Yeah.
And, I was a kid. I hadn't heard that stuff. And so it inspired me to go back and listen to that and love it. So, I mean...
So Elvis was also one of those artists that never sang very many originals. I mean, he did mostly cover tunes. Of course, he truly made them his own, no doubt. But
Oh, yeah.
it was one of these things that if you go back and look at his catalog, I'd say 80% of his catalog is all remakes.
Yeah. It's interesting. My daughter, Merritt, she's 17 and absolutely is totally into music with me, and we have such a blast with it. She watched the Elvis movie recently, and so we were playing some Elvis stuff, and I was playing some music on my computer one night, and I played Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers, and she's like, well, that's an Elvis song. I said, well, yes. But it was
My point exactly.
Yeah, it was originally not. So she thought that was really cool, to be able to hear the original version of that. So yeah, exactly what you're saying.
Well, the dream of mine would be for someone to think Midnight Train was really mine.
Well, you made it yours. I got to tell you, and like I said, I love that video, and that just put the icing on the cake for me. I think that's probably my favorite song on the album. It's so great. I just love it.
It's my favorite to perform. I will tell you, it's such a blast. And the second you start singing it, people instantly know it. And they sing along, and it's so much fun. Now, like I said, I've got to get back to my real roots in my writing. So I don't want people to forget that I write, but I'm excited too that Lori Morgan has cut 3 songs of mine for her upcoming album. I'm not sure when her album is coming out, but I look forward to the fans being able to hear things that I've written from another perspective as well.
That's great, Kelly. I'm so glad to hear that. That brings up another interesting question. As a songwriter, when you hear someone else record one of your songs, how does it affect you, and are you surprised sometimes by the interpretations?
Yes, that's an interesting question, Scott. It is flattering. It is exciting, especially when your music heroes, pick and choose songs that they could pick from anybody, and they choose one of yours. It's really a thrill. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes you go, oh, I didn't hear it that way, or it's different. It takes a moment because there's I don't know if it's a disorder or a disease or whatever with the human brain, but when you're used to hearing a song a certain way, you get what we call demo-itis. You hear the demos as they're supposed to be, like you think you've written them, but then a producer will have a different way of interpreting, and it takes me a minute. I'm not going to lie. It takes me a minute to be able to wrap my brain around it, but eventually it comes around, and I love hearing the different versions of things.
Well, looking forward to that. Lori's certainly fabulous with whatever she does. It's going to be good.
Well, I'm excited to hear. There's a song that I wrote in particular called "Dead Girl Walking," and she's done quite a job on that. I'm excited for her to be able to share that, and I think she's cutting Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, which she and I wrote together, and they have the third one, too. So just be watching.
All right. Well, lots of great stuff coming up for Kelly Lang. Please go to kellylang.net and Country for a Cause, ticketweb.com. Make sure you get your tickets. That's going to be in Nashville's 3rd and Lindsley, Wednesday, June the 7th at 7 p.m. And a fabulous show for a wonderful cause hosted by T.G. Shepherd and Kelly Lang. Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time to be back on the show today. I can't tell you, I really, truly, every time I get to talk to either you or TG, I just can't wait. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
You're very kind, Scott. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful week.
All right. Here's some great music from Kelly Lang as we continue with My Kind of Country.